Let's move on now to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and our final free agency review of the 2023 offseason. But before we do that, if you have not already, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and ring the bell to get notified when we create new Bucs content. As I said, this is our final series when it comes to the free agency section of the 2023 offseason before we pivot and start previewing the 2023 season. That includes preseason, that includes during the season where we will potentially even be going live and doing prediction videos as well. So it means a lot more Bucs content for you, the fans. So be sure to ring that bell to get notified when we create new content. And also hit that subscribe button. Help us reach our goal of getting to 3,000 subscribers by the start of the NFL season. So Ryan, that being said, let's move on now to the Bucs in this offseason. And it's losing a quarterback like Tom Brady is obviously going to shake up any franchise. But they've also lost several other key players as well. Donovan Smith is gone. Shaq Mason's gone. That's 40% of your starting offensive line. Also key players on the defensive side as well that we'll get into. But in general, though, it seems like that the Buccaneers maybe are going to try and see what they can do with Baker Mayfield this year before kind of blowing it up, getting a young kind of generational talent potentially in the 2024 draft.
No, yeah. I think you look at what they've done this offseason. They offloaded a lot of veterans, whether through trades or just letting them leave in free agency, and didn't do a whole lot to really replace them. The Donovan Smith thing, they did somewhat have a succession plan in place with Luke Godecki. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce his name, but probably they're going to kick Tristan Wirfs over to left tackle. I'll just go ahead and pull up the roster here. But they're probably going to kick Tristan Wirfs over to left tackle, play Luke Godecki at right tackle, and then they did draft Cody Mock, probably one of my more favorite draft prospects. Just I don't know. You just look at him from North Dakota State. He has no teeth. He looks like I think how offensive linemen looked in like the 80s and 90s, back when you could like blindside hit wide receivers coming over the middle and send them to a hospital immediately. And like that to me, I like his presence on that offensive line, especially right next to Ryan Jensen. But outside of that, I just don't know what this offense is really going to bring to the table. Leonard Fournette left. Rachaad White is going to come in and replace some of that production, but it's going to be an interesting running back room down there with Chase Edmonds and then Keyshawn Vaughn. You mentioned this earlier. I think Mike Evans is going on 31, going into his 9th NFL season.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting. And then Chris Godwin also struggled with injuries a lot last year. He didn't quite look the same as he did 2 years prior when they won the Super Bowl. So it's going to be a really interesting season, I think, for the Tampa Bay offense.
Well, and then kind of building off a little bit too of like the success of some of these receivers. I think a lot of it's going to be just extremely dependent on quarterback play, whether it's Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask. And I think that they would probably lean towards Baker, even though Kyle has been with the organization for 2 years now. And so we'll just kind of have to see what route that they end up going. And that's where it's the overall offensive success of the skill position players. I mean, because they guys that are there that saw their potential. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. I think there's still some stuff left in the tank, but well, especially in Mike Evans' case, Chris Godwin. Let's see how he rebounds still from that ACL injury. But so it's going to depend on how Baker or Kyle do. So with the running back room, I think they have a very intriguing running back room, especially too then with the addition of Sean Tucker, running back from Syracuse. They got him in the undrafted free agent market here. He was considered a top 100 pick, one of the better running backs, especially in that second-ish, third-ish wave of running backs, especially in this good running back class. But due to a medical issue that he did end up getting cleared on, a lot of the teams passed. So if that stuff gets cleared and he is one, healthy to play. That's the number one thing, importantly. They could have gotten a really good running back for next to nothing, and you put him with Rachaad White. It could be a very interesting running back tandem that then eventually Sean Tucker, if Rachaad White isn't panning out, Sean Tucker could take on a majority of the snaps because he could be a bell cow for them. And so that's one of the kind of intriguing storylines for me to watch outside of the overall just quarterback play.
No, yeah, definitely. And I think that they're going to have some good players. I'm just really interested to see how it all comes together. I think that this offense is really going to be held back by the quarterback position. And then they'll try to address that in 2024. So
Yeah.
let's move on now to the defensive side of the ball. They did lose Shaq Barrett, Sean Murphy Bunting, and then am I missing any other major ones?
Raheem Nunez Roches.
Actually, Shaq Barrett's on the roster right here.
They re-sign with them?
I want to say he requested a trade, actually.
Maybe
sorry.
Is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah. But actually, maybe I'm thinking of Levante David. I don't remember. One of the linebackers requested a trade. And
Levante David's on there as well.
Yeah, I know.
So, okay.
I don't think they actually executed the trade yet. But
no.
Anyways, this defense started to struggle last year, and I think a lot of it was due to the fact that they were on the field so much because the offense was not very good, because that offensive line just got absolutely decimated. And I think the same struggles are going to continue into this season. I do like the Kalijah Cansey pick. I think he fits in pretty nicely down there, but I still just, I don't know. I don't quite see where they're going to find a lot of success.
Well, it's one of the things as well. It's like outside of the draft, and it didn't really add too much. It was more just kind of contained as much as what they could of the good talent that they had. And so that's where it draws in some questions, because then you're considering, like, we obviously saw the huge drop off last year in the team with. I'm trying to remember correctly. They did have some injuries on the offensive line, yes, but in general, the overall performance of that team dropped off with a vast majority of the same guys on that squad. And now some of those guys are gone. I mean, Tom Brady leading the way is huge, and that's why he's like he's just one of those few players that like had such an impact on the organization. It's like you don't even know how it's going to react here as well. You look at PFF right now for our 2024 early mock draft; they were picking third overall behind the Cardinals and the Texans. So
I don't know if they'll be that bad.
I agree.
Top 10.
I agree. I believe that they'll be top 10 also. I feel like they'll have like a 6-game season or a 6-win season. But there's so many unknowns, because all of their skill position players have at least had, and I know I'm saying this loosely with Jameis Winston also included, but quarterbacks with like consistent, lively throwing arms. And then they also had youth as well. So now when you bring in Baker Mayfield, who is a former number 1 pick, but you know what you're getting with Baker. He's not going to come in. I don't think he's going to have I'd be surprised if he had a Geno Smith-esque type season, if that makes sense. This feels very similar to what we all thought Seattle was like going into last year. So it's possible Baker Mayfield throws for 30 touchdowns. But I'm just not getting that vibe. That does not happen as consistently as what we saw. Yes, there's talent that is there with Baker, but the team also overall as a whole, they just might be getting a little bit older, and it just might be time to kind of blow it up. Time for a rebuild.
Yeah, turn the page and move on. So as far as what a successful season looks like for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm going to set the bar really low here and just say I think that they want to identify just solid NFL players that they can keep through a rebuild, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Antoine Winfield, I think they should potentially try to re-sign. Obviously, Kalijah Cansey and those guys that have been recently drafted. But like Carlton Davis, I think might go. And it's just, I think they want to get young players in there, get some young blood, see what they have, and continue to build for the future. Because I think looking at this division right now, I have them at 4th. I'm pretty confident you have them at 4th also.
Yeah.
And that would put them outside of the playoffs by a pretty large margin.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they started the year off with Baker, see if they can get a kind of winning thing going. Then let's say they go to 2-6 and be like, okay, let's see what we have with Kyle Trask here. who do we want to keep on? Like, does Kyle Trask have some potential here that, as he's been in the league now for a couple of years, just sitting behind only the best quarterback to ever play the game? So, did he learn as a joke? So, but it is that I think is going to be, I guess, a good example of what you're talking about is talking about. Okay, it's like finding out, okay, let's just keep Baker as a backup. We'll draft a franchise quarterback next year. Or Kyle Trask has some potential. Maybe we don't need to, or maybe we still go draft the quarterback, but then we can have potential competition, or maybe we can take a quarterback later, like early second round, and then there's some quarterback competition from there and slowly keep improving. So a lot of different routes that they could go. And to me, game-wise, I mean, I think if they're in playoff contention for as long as they possibly can into the season, I think that would be a good year. Making this playoff, I think, is obviously a great season. But it kind of goes back to what we were saying, just what they've done in the offseason here. Then you look at the roster now, not too many changes, and we saw what it was like last year. It just doesn't seem like – it seems like they're prepping for 2024.
No, yeah, I agree. Especially, too, I think they didn't necessarily get out of that cap hell and kick anything forward. I think they just kind of absorbed most of it, and they're just going to play with what they have. So, yeah, I think that's going to wrap up the Buccaneers offseason recap there. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe and leave a comment down below on what your favorite offseason edition was for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, not the New York Jets. But and other than that, we will see you guys next time.